Peace, family. This Underground Railroad, this brother Rich. We are back with the brother Blue Pill. Couple of things I want to build with the brother Blue Pill on today. First and foremost, I have got to get the brother's opinion on, the brother's been talking and dealing with hip hop. He's been in the hip hop culture. He's worked at Epic Records before. He shared inside stories about what goes on and what the executives wants. We dealt with the whole Bobby Shmurda thing. We seen that come to light right after he talked about it. I want to touch today, Blue Pill. It seems like, man, I'm going to tell you, Blue, it seems like this year was the year, you know how like they say when a person's gay and they come out the closet? This was the year like white privilege came out the closet. Well, we all know it existed, but what's up with all the confessions this year? Whether it be us, me and you at the protests and hearing white people, you know how many brothers call me and say, man, I didn't know white people was going to admit it like that on camera. Then he's seeing it on TV. You got Jon Stewart talking about white privilege every other show. There's other networks. Now we got Macklemore on Hot 97 talking about how much he benefited from white privilege in reference to him getting a Grammy and just him being overall accepted as a white artist. Touch on, before we go into hip hop, what's going on with the white privilege confessions this year?
Right. I think it's the counterbalance to everything else that we're seeing in the media. Black Lives Matter. Hello, I'm benefiting from white privilege. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just that period, that time that we're in, that the things that we were speaking about, like how people that are attributed for speaking about conspiracy theories for X amount of years, and then all of a sudden, Jesse Ventura make your shit mainstream. You be like, see, son, I was trying to tell you all along. Or it makes CNN and stuff like that, and it's no longer a conspiracy. There's a national consensus on it. I think that white privilege was one of those things that they never really had a spokesman outside of Tim Wise saying there's such a thing. You know what I mean? It was that quiet thing that it was unspoken of. You feel me? And for whatever reason, and I'm not quite sure exactly what that reason is, 2014 was very interesting. It was a throwback year to all things racial. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that was the major tipping point. Just so many things were thrown at the wall in 2015 to finally, white folks feel comfortable enough to come out and say, yeah, there's white privilege and we benefited from it. You know what I'm saying? We're part of this secret society, you know what I'm saying, that was once held together by a level of trust, but now we could come out in the open. Just like so many other things that we've seen in society that were once taboo and now they're out in the open. You feel me? So everything has its time in the information age.
With him making this confession on hip hop privilege, do you see Iggy coming out and saying something more as far as how she advanced so fastly in hip hop and how she got all of these nominations and she's like, the hottest female artist out right now? Do you see her coming out and talking out on it, or you think she's just going to act like it don't exist?
I think that she's going to continue to, try the line because she comes from a different cultural aesthetic than Macklemore, okay? And I'm not going to get into the whole diatribe about there are differences between Europeans because now everybody's screaming, that everyone is the same and shit like that. But where Macklemore comes from, in Seattle, like he was saying, there's a little bit more history in regards to white liberalism. Where she comes from, Australia, there's the denial is somewhat weaved into their culture. You know what I'm saying? The nationalistic pride that they have as a people is deeply rooted in the fact that, they participated in genocide and they're not allowed to even look at it in the face and see it for what it is. So for her coming over here and participating in hip hop, and having the lightning rod success that she's benefited from, I'm sure that she actually thinks that's attributed to her talent. And because she has, that vulnerability, she has to hold that in place by saying, no, I'm benefiting, I'm getting these things, I'm getting these awards because I'm actually who I say I am. Her whole thing is held together by her putting on this act. She is literally an act. You know what I'm saying? That's like they couldn't get Nicki to admit for a while that she had plastic in her. You feel me? Right. When we all knew better. So she had to continue, she had to live in that space and that place for her to actually be who she was. And for her to you know, be the champion of Barbies or what have you. So now you really got this, you know, you got a white version of that. You feel me? And I think she's going to take it all the way to the finish line. And it's not even so much her these days, just like it wasn't Nicki back then. She wasn't allowed to think for herself. Baby and them was telling her what to say and how to say it. I think that it's the same thing with Iggy, that she got T.I. and them pretty much directing, you know, how she's supposed to respond to certain things and what she's supposed to be admitting and her level of responsibility and what have you. She's just a cash cow. And that's exactly how they want to keep her.
You know, I guess this whole conversation was sparked. I mean, I'm sure it was on people's mind last year when Macklemore won the Grammy, but it sort of got reignited by Azealia Banks' interview with Hot 97, with Ebro, right? Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on Azealia Banks' interview, and why did it have to take a female to come out with such emotions in regards to what's going on with black culture? Why you feel as though this female came off so hard and so aggressive and so emotional, going on Twitter rant pages, going all over the place? What's up with that, man?
I mean, again, like I said, if we look at the time, if we look at the emergence of what took place this year, you know what I'm saying? That's the voice that was most dominant in society, was, you know, women taking this particular approach towards things like, I'm gonna be heard and I'm going to be raw with my emotion, you know what I'm saying, and you're gonna hear me and what have you. And we watched the dichotomy of that as well play out with Bill Cosby, you know, about the silencing of women and the denial of when a woman cries out, and, you know what I'm saying, victimizing women and things of that particular nature. So we saw the extremes of it. With her, I think that she's directly tied in to the story and the scenario. And again, she's invested in her talent. She really feels like she has the talent that separates her from a fraud and from a fake. And she's also invested into the culture to say that because of that, she should be rewarded, right? But she feels that she's not being rewarded. It's just the opposite. She's being penalized for being, you know, overly saturated with melanin and having talent, when this undersaturated melanin, you know what I'm saying, person comes along with less talent, but she got the political backing in the game and she's able to you know what I'm saying, actually progress. So she more than likely screaming out like, look, nobody sees this, and she's just reaching in her culture bag now and throwing everything on the table. She's making a stink out of it all because it's the perfect opportunity to do that. You know what I'm saying? There's so many situations that you could build a case from at this particular time. And she's like, yo, if this is a social vehicle for change, hip hop, you know, why are these people being allowed to come in and to sit on the top, but not be responsible enough to have a voice and say anything about that? Again, totally dismissive of the fact that that girl comes from somewhere where that's part of who they are. You know what I'm saying? The denial is fixing to their culture in Australia, to not see things for what they are. You know, so she comes over here, she lives life in a bubble. Right? She's a jump off. She started her career as a jump off, from what I understand. Nas, ASAP, you know, Lord knows who else, you know, what else she had to do to get on. And you know, she just represents a contingency of, you know, people that have found access into this quote unquote thing of ours, you know, by whatever means. Like when these rappers go overseas and they knocking these bras off in every country they go to, are they not part of hip hop now? You know what I'm saying? Are they not initiated into that particular society? So now Jump Off comes home, to the home base and decides that she wants to get into the gimmick like everybody else. You feel me? And now the purist is holding up signs talking about how pure this shit is. I mean, it's a lot of hypocrisy as well, but I do hear what the sisters crying out, talking about.
Why do you feel as though when the black element is taken out of a particular musical genre, and this is something that they talked about on the show, it appears to, die. Whether it's jazz, whether it's rock and roll, whether now we're seeing it with hip hop, it just appears as though when that black element, because we're all human, like they say. Well, ain't that what they say? We all bleed the same blood. So why is it that when the black element is taken out, and I'm sure people will, wonder this, why isn't jazz today what it was 40 years ago? Why isn't rock and roll the same? Why is it that black people create something and then they sort of like abandon, move on to the next thing? Brothers don't break dance like that no more. You go overseas, they break dancing like shit was just invented a week ago. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's a double question. Why is the black element, when it leaves, the music dies, and why do we go from, I guess, we create something, then we leave it and go on to the next one?
I think, that adage just says, where attention goes, energy flows. I think it's something to that effect. So what we invest our energy in, what we invest our cultural aesthetic in, the magnetism that the melanin and all of those things bring to the table in regards of creativity. You take somebody like Thelonious Monk, you take somebody like Miles Davis, you take somebody like Coltrane. They did jazz a particular way. They did jazz, they were defying, what the laws and the codes were. They were able to tap into areas that were untapped, exploring and just moving through space and time. And it's the same thing with hip hop. You feel me? Like, we just pull all of these elements together and created this magnanimous thing. And we was just exploring and moving through space and time, right? The unknown, just traveling the unknown. So when that thing is abandoned, who can moor the ship? Who can moor the ship and move it forward, right? Shout out to my moors out there. So who's going to moor the ship and move it through space? Who's going to moor the ship and move this thing forward? There is no forward movement without a mooring the ship. So it gets watered down and it starts regressing. You feel me? Like, certain elements had to be put in place for Eminem to arise in hip hop. They got rid of the Twin Towers, right? They got rid of Biggie and Pac, and they created a climate in hip hop, a very toxic climate that started with the beef and everything of that nature, and then it just digressed, And then this toxic cesspool of an environment was perfect for a non-melanated being such as Eminem to arise. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying that based on the tenets of what we consider to be a quote-unquote hot MC, that Eminem doesn't have a place in hip-hop. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when he came about and his subject matter and the way that he went about his career, the gimmick, the purposeful gimmick that he put on to get on, you know what I'm saying, that he fed to MTV in order for him to cross over to mainstream America, the opportunity and the situation was set for him to come into the game like that. And to me, it's kind of going backwards after that. You feel me? There hasn't been too much progression going forward. But I do think, like I said, in terms of like lyrical skill and ability on the surface, he has, you know what I'm saying, he's nice. It might not be what I listen to, you feel me? But I can't sit here as a lyricist, as a writer, as a thinker, and be like, yo, homie is just like a blank slate. He's not coming up with nothing. You feel me? Like, he, you know what I'm saying? He's skillful. But putting him in that position, in that place, calling him the best ever, and what have you, and just like, you know, he's the greatest of all time. Just the disrespect that they was running with after they got Nas and Jay in that situation, and they kind of whole like muddied that legacy so they could really push him forward. You feel me? I just think that when you take the original code out of anything, you're always going to be left with a carbon copy. And then when that copy is minus carbon, you feel me? It's even going to take it down to a very, stagnant degree where the shit don't really move. It don't really, you know what I'm saying, give you anything but noise and confusion. Like rock became death metal and all of these other things. Like what the hell? What's all that about? Grunting and like we went from the skillful, manipulation of sound to that. The Chuck Berry and all of our greats. Like that's what we went to. You know what I'm saying? And they standing on that, calling that music. But based on what some people's background frequency is, it speaks to them perfectly. So I think that it's obvious that no, everybody's not the same.
You see it all over the internet. Phrases like, hip hop is dead. We need to bring real hip hop back. Do you respect what the youth are doing out here in hip hop? You coming from that generation, that golden era of hip hop. Do you respect what you see as far as, the producers doing, what the producers are doing, or what young brothers like Rich Homie Quan, Drake, Young Thug, all the youngsters in hip hop, all these young brothers in their 20s and, in their teens, you got, the Bobby Shmurdas. Do you respect that movement? Do you understand that movement? Do you, or do you feel like, cause some people might say, the older people that talk about that, let's bring the real hip hop back. They may call you a bitter and say your time is up. You got to move on. This is the hip hop isn't meant to stay in the same tempo, the same cadence, and the same melody. You have to move on and you have to evolve into something else. So do you respect where it's at right now, going into 2015?
Right. We've said it on this program before. I think it's best stated that hip-hop is a direct reflection of street culture. You know what I'm saying? And the children are going to shit out what you feed them. You feel me? So where Rich Homie Quan is at, where Young Thug is at, is a direct reflection of the environment and society that they grew up in. They grew up off of Jeezy and Gucci. You know what I'm saying? So these are all children of Gucci, So me understanding that, me understanding Atlanta, me understanding that vibration down there, you're going to have the emergence of an archetypical rapper such as that. Even to the point that they gave us what's his name, Gangstalicious, on what you call it, on Boondocks, and yeah, and that's who Young Thug is. You feel me? But it was a seed that was planted in the minds of the masses, of the people. And a rapper actually, or a person actually came about to fulfill that template. Yeah, personified that. So there's a place for him in society. Because it already exists in your head. So I remember when all of the parody movies, like Don't Drink Your Juice and Gin in South Central while whatever. I remember CB4 being a parody. All of that shit. Every last parody that they threw out to us about hip-hop has become a reality in our minds. That's why you don't see powerful films utilizing hip-hop as a vehicle for change. That's why Hype didn't get greenlit to do anything after Belly or what have you. You feel me? Because if we can show on film the utilization of a hip-hop star utilizing the genre to actually bring about change or revolution, you know what I'm saying? If we took the template of blaxploitation, quote unquote, and upgraded it to hip-hop and showed how we can use the dynamic force of the sound of the streets to actually galvanize the people to move, it will replicate itself in society. Lauryn Hill was a threat, you know what I'm saying? When she was doing her thing, and there was other rappers that, you know, had that sound and had that message that they did not want to get out. You feel me? They did not want to get it out. But I can't blame Hollywood 100%. Because why we never got nothing from Ice Cube? You know what I'm saying? Why Ice Cube never brought nothing back to the genre by way of Hollywood, by way of independent film if need be? We got Hustle and Flow, then we got the whole genre after that. Every time you see something on film dealing with hip-hop, that shit births a whole genre of what we're going to get. Dealing with that, okay? So they planting seeds visually. I think that, like you said, you know, hip-hop is meant to change. It's meant to morph. It's meant to evolve with sound, with style, with cadence, with all of those things. So, you know, I love what J. Cole is doing. You know what I'm saying? I could appreciate who Drake is as an artist, even if it might not be my favorite thing. I understand the population that he speaks to. These kids are soft out here. You know what I'm saying? These kids grew up on Teletubbies and motherfucking, you know, whatever else they grew up on. So they hella soft. They homogenized. They're like GMO children. You know what I'm saying? So that works for them, right? Everybody's singing. They got French Montana and Fab singing on a song together. You feel me? So it speaks directly to who these children are, where they are. You know what I'm saying? What's you know, what's on their consciousness or what have you. How they actually receive or respond to music. They want a melody. 50 Cent changed the game. You know what I'm saying? Before him, Ja Rule did it. So, like, you know, the old niggas need to chill because they be acting like this stuff happened overnight. All of this shit happened on your watch. You feel me? All of it happened on your watch. And nobody did nothing to stop it while it was progressing. It's a train. You gonna stop a train now? You can't. You know, you either gonna get on board or you gonna step aside and wave your flag. But you ain't gonna stop it. And if you want to compete, put a competing train on the track, you know what I'm saying, and let it catch up and pass it. Why none of these old niggas become label execs yet? Why didn't they start something from the street up, from the button up? Mixtape circuit. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. Showcases, anything. Radio stations, underground radio stations, internet radio stations. Shout out to my brother Bambaataa and them. They got a radio show. Shout out to even Ice-T. He got a podcast. You know what I'm saying? But where's the outlet? And now these radio programs are picking up old school hip hop. So it shows you it was marketable to begin with. Why do you got to wait for them to do these things, for them to jump on the bandwagon and be like, look at what they doing. Why you ain't do that shit? So, you know, I'm tired of the old niggas.
Well, one thing I will say, I think it's much easier to, we have way more outlets now than the old heads had, you know, because of the internet era, the independent radio. It's like the gatekeepers are gone right now. They're gone, basically. Back in the 90s, they weren't gone. So you had to be a part of that boys club, you know, and sometimes, you know, we done heard thing about different individuals, you know, Pac said things about Quincy Jones. Don't know if it's true or not, but we heard the story, so I can't come at the old heads because I know how privileged we are to have certain platforms that we have. Like right now, when I'm filming you, thousands of people are going to see this. This is the same effect television had in the 90s. So we have to realize how much of an important of a platform we have right now. So I will say that, and I appreciate, you know, and I appreciate the sacrifices that was made by those that came before me. But go ahead, let me. Yeah, go ahead.
I do too. This is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not shitting on the elders. I'm just saying, if they are still complaining today, in 2014, YouTube came out 2007. You feel me? Like, when did the elders stop being creative? Like, if they're not even the ones pushing the envelope, why haven't they put it into their children? Why haven't they gotten together with these technology firms? Chuck D should be accredited with starting a lot of this online stuff because he was in the forefront, pushing it. So I'm not talking about Chuck D. I'm not talking about anybody affiliated with that camp. You know what I'm saying? I can't be talking about, like I said, Ice-T jumped out and did something in the podcast realm. You know, I see Melly Mel got something on, you know, access, cable access and what have you. And so my target is not people that are necessarily classified as quote unquote old school. I'm talking about people that are complaining about what the youth are doing today. Okay, and what you call it, Dougie Fresh, he opened the studio up, you know what I'm saying, to his sons, Square Off and my dude Bruck Up and what have you. I used to go to the studio over there. So he put things in place for his seeds to carry the baton. You feel me? Like, there just needs to be more in terms of bridge building to say, look, the industry has been revolutionized. I'm finally getting the chance to do the things that I always wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? I got this blueprint that been was written 15 years ago. Now it's time to implement it here. Let me pass this on. This is the shit that I realized this weekend, man, when I went to some of these Kwanzaa events. Elders are fucking dying with the batons in their hand. They're getting buried with the batons like the pharaohs of old used to get buried with their fucking jewelry. You feel me? Only for that shit to get grave robbed. You're not going to a mentor with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's digging your grave up and disrespecting your body and taking your jewels. It's the same thing with these batons that's supposed to be passed. The only way these batons are going to be powerful if you pass them on to the next generation. They're dying with batons in their hand. You understand? So, like, where's the remix? Where's the next thing in hip hop, and where's it going to come from? You know, my bet say it's going to come from the children. It's going to come from the youth. You feel me? So the elders should just be teaching history or something like that. What else can they do at this point if they can't contribute?
I talked to I had an interview with Lord Jamar about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, the thing we were talking about, one thing in particular with hip hop, why is it like an age restriction on hip hop and coolness as far as being a hip hop artist? There's other genres where you could be 55 years old and you're still touring and the people still appreciate and love your music. For some reason in hip hop, it's like once you hit 34, 35, niggas look at you like, you old head, get the fuck out of here, man. We don't want to hear that shit no more, man. And it's like they want the young dudes coming up. They want the young dudes. It's like the older dudes. Jay-Z is a example of somebody who bypassed that. And somebody who's 44, just turned 45, but in Black America is the coolest nigga in the world, for lack of better words. That somebody who still sets trends with, if Jay says we win platinum, we win platinum. If Jay says we not drinking Cristal, we not drinking Cristal, we drinking Ace of Spades. Jay said we're Tom Ford, guess what niggas doing? We got to go with Tom Ford. So he's like one of the few who managed to be up in his 40s and still set trends, but for the most part it seems as though they want it to be a young man's sport, and I don't see it being like that, or maybe I'm wrong with other musical genres. Could you expound on that?
Again, because hip-hop is an extension of street culture, the youth want to be led by the youth. You know what I'm saying? The youth want to be told what's youthful. The youthful thing is the end thing, you know what I'm saying? And the end thing is normally the most energetic and the vibrant thing. And that's not necessarily always tied into, 40 plus. Like, you're expected as somebody that's 40 plus to do things that 40 plus year olds do, and not 19-year-olds, 18 and 17 and 16-year-olds. So I think that that's something more so that the youth are gravitating towards and looking for leadership for. They don't want to see a 35, 40-year-old hopping on the stage, hopping all around, you know what I'm saying, with the mental sentiments of a 19 or a 20-year-old. And even with the youth, you know what I'm saying, they look at Jay-Z as old. That blew me away, you know what I'm saying, talking to some of the youth. They like, oh, that nigga mad old, like, you know what I'm saying? We probably follow his dictates and, the generation underneath us, but the ones that are like the Soulja Boy generation and generations under that, you know what I'm saying, I don't really know if they feel the same way about Jay-Z. Some of them don't even know who Big is. We didn't hear that. But that's the truth of the matter. So I think that, yeah, you know, hip-hop is a quote-unquote, or rap for that matter, is a youthful sport. And I think that they expect the elders to move into some sort of executive position and give opportunity to some young bloods, you know what I mean? And you can dictate, you could become the Geppetto and become the puppet master. Why you gotta be the puppet on stage all the time? Why not be the ventriloquist? So that's what I'm saying, like, you know, you gotta step up. It's just like any other teacher, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's your master students? So J. Cole is a master student, you feel me?
I was watching this clip, this interview the other day with Morgan Freeman, and I believe it was Don Lemon. I think, by the way, I think they rated him the worst journalist of 2014. Don Lemon made a name for himself, man. Shout out Don Lemon, man. You made a fool out yourself the whole year, man. But yeah, I was watching an interview, I believe it was with Don Lemon and Morgan Freeman, and he asked him about racism in Hollywood, and Morgan Freeman said it doesn't exist. Now, we are talking about white privilege. We are talking about confessions of white privilege going on all over the place. White, black, everywhere. Well, only whites could confess, but we've been talking about it, but you get the point. So my question is, Blue, as a student of metaphysics, been studying Phil Valentine for over a decade. I seen you at the lectures 10 years ago, brother, so don't fool me now. I know you. But as a student of metaphysics, where does white privilege end, racism end, and us creating our own reality, us being in control over our whole entire reality begin? Because it's like well, I guess the universe is a contradiction, or they call it a divine paradox or whatever. But in one sense, you have, you know, white privilege going on in the collective consciousness in our culture. But then in another sense, in an esoteric sense, we know who we are. We know that we are not who we appear to be, and we know we create our reality. So some people confused. They're like, well, damn, I create my own reality, but then you telling me there's this magnificent foe called white privilege that stops me from creating my reality. So which one is it? Is it Blue, I create my own reality. I could be the greatest rap in the world. I could be #1. I could be executive. I could be whatever I want. I'm Brother Rich. I'm God. I'm the Alpha and Omega. I'm the greatest thing that ever walked this earth. Or is it, you know, I'm God, but because of white supremacy, I don't get to experience my God in this lifetime?
All right. Again, it falls down to, or it goes up to, should I say, you know, the superior claim takes precedent. So which one do you choose? Which one do you believe in? Morgan Freeman decided to side with the intention to say, no, there's no such thing as white privilege in my world. You feel me? Because I was able to create these things and make these things happen for me, for which I have been uninhibited. So he says, and so he feels. And who are we to tell him different? So, you know, I haven't experienced many barriers in my life to quote-unquote white privilege. You know what I'm saying? I've run into black lack. Those have been my inhibitors. You know what I'm saying? Quote-unquote so-called black people, you know, that have felt the need and necessity to try to hold us back because of what they don't have. You know what I'm saying? So when I wanted to go to school, I put myself through school. When I wanted to expand my skills into journalism, instead of going to the New York Times to get hired, we created our own thing. You know what I'm saying? When we wanted to broadcast our information to the world, you know, we uploaded it to YouTube and got onto Blog Talk and stuff of that nature. So I bump heads with these particular systems here and there, you know what I'm saying? And they've tried to hold certain flow of information back or what have you, but they were unsuccessful ultimately. So was there friction? Yeah, there might have been friction, but I've never been shut down to a degree where I couldn't do something. I've done everything damn near that I've dreamed of doing. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, it's red. So it's a determining factor to say, who do you see yourself as in this universe? Where do you see yourself as? We're speaking of ourselves individually, and we're speaking of the collective. And more often when I'm speaking, you know what I'm saying, because I can't be unmindful of who I'm speaking to and what I'm speaking about, and we want to bring people closer to where we're at. I'm not going to speak pig-headedly to be like, yo, I don't have the same experience as you. So I might put myself in a place to have a conversation, but all of these conversations are not necessarily mine. You feel me? Because I feel in some ways, yes, I have been able to transcend those barriers in my life. And that was based on my upbringing and based on what the things that I've learned based on my level of training. So it takes an unprecedented amount of discipline to not let the outside world filter into your mind, okay? I have to create, even if it's a mythology at this point, I have to create my own mythology to be like, yo, they trying to throw this stuff on us based on this. So that's my defense mechanism. When I see the slavery films, when I hear the entire race narrative, I have created a scenario in my mind where I'm like, this is all counter-reactionary stuff about Moorish science and all of these other things, and we're that much closer to getting our people out of this situation, so they got to put people back into sleep. So it even forwards my progression to be like, oh, we got them, you know what I'm saying, where we want them on the ropes.
I just wanted to add to that because I feel you 100% on that. I view, you know, as a student, my own take on it, as a student of metaphysics, and us knowing that this is a holographic experience and that we're just projecting part of our consciousness down here. I look at it as like a video game. And then, you know, people have referenced that before. You know how when you play a video game, Blue, you get bored of playing the same level, you want to go to a harder level, and you want to go to, it's an excitement. I feel as though this white supremacy thing that's been the theme going on for the last some odd 1,000, 100 years or whatever, this was a level that we chose to incarnate down here and overcome. Right. So just like in a video game, you get tired of playing that level, so we like, oh shit, we need a new level. Oh, let's play this white supremacy shit. Because like you see it, because like you said, and I mean, I know to a person viewing it on an exoteric level, it may sound foolish, but on an esoteric level, and you understand the journey of the spirit and the journey of the soul and the journey of experiencing itself, you know what I'm saying? So I see both views. I understand in the collective consciousness in society, white supremacy is prevalent. White privilege is prevalent, but I also understand that it's an illusionary obstacle, and that I am all that, you know, God is all that exists. Like you say, even the devil is God with a ski mask on, pretending to be playing that part so you could experience who you came down here to experience it. God has many faces, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I understand when people talk about white supremacy. I'm not going to say because I study metaphysics it doesn't exist. It exists, but it's not real in the sense that, you know, once you leave here or once you go back to where you come from, you know what I'm saying?
They're giving it away by saying it's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? They're telling you by saying it's a privilege, it's something that's given so it could be taken away. So does it ever really exist? It don't. You feel me? But you got to get to a place in your discipline, okay? You have to be hardened in your discipline to be able to deflect that, because everything else in society is going to promote that not only is it real, but it's bearing on you, that it's bearing on your life, that it's influencing and it's infecting everything that you do, it's inhibiting everything that you do or what have you. You're going to have to be able to break that. And I'm saying by these levels of conversations and based on reactions that I'm seeing people have to the stimulus that's being thrown their way, we're not even ready for that level of the conversation yet. We got to take baby steps in a whole nother direction to get people just to the water. Now you're talking about not only drinking but pissing it out, and then drinking your piss to cure your ailments or what have you. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are conversations people ain't ready for. So you got to get them ready. You know what I'm saying? So we just convinced them to follow us to the water. We ain't even at the water yet. You know what I'm saying? So I do understand, you know, in this illusionary world where that exists. I do understand in this illusionary construct how that could be restricting. But once you totally understand the fact of who you are and what this dream is about, right? My dreams reinforce my reality every night because I see it. I have stupid, vivid, lucid dreams. Shout out to that liquid gold. You know what I'm saying? So I'm totally being reprogrammed. I'm in the mix of this. I'm seeing it for what it is, man. And I wake up and I attack from that place. You know what I'm saying? I attack from that place. And I hope to think that everything that we do is to reinforce this whole notion of what we're talking about, family, that ye are God. You know what I'm saying? You might not be the most powerful aspect of God. Yeah, you might be a baby God. You might still be in the manger. You know what I'm saying? You might just figured out how to get your ups together. You might just got your legs from being God. You know what I'm saying? You just might got your guns together and been able to lift your first X, Y, and Z. It's levels to everything. You feel me? But at the end of the day, ye are God. And none of that shit can stop you. I'm just waiting for the moment to just punch a hole through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, doing it right now. Yeah, now like, get me on Hannity or something like that. Goddamn, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You want to see a nigga style and punch a hole through that motherfucking paradigm? Like, it don't exist, B.
That's the paradigm that we are currently entering in. Like, it's appropriate that Blue got the captain's hat on because we in the Nebuchadnezzar. We're staring into that reality or into that time-space continuum where all of this is going to be right around the curve, if you understand what I'm saying. This is the time that we all been waiting for. This is our time. I don't understand if people realize what it is that you see or if you are truly looking through the lens that you say that you have. But this is the time that has been written and prophesized about. It's so funny. Yeah, it's just ironic that the very groups that this information is in, possession of, they're not even seeing it or taking it opportunity of the fact that they're in these times. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like everything is going on in front of us that we asked for. You asked for everything.
You're not always gonna get it how you know what I'm saying, how you expect it to come, but it's gonna come. And the challenge is gonna come as well. You feel me?
It's the initiation.
It's the initiation.
Yeah. So it's like I said, blood is an initiator. Right. Fire is an initiator. These are the elements. This is what magic is all about. We're talking about a time that you're living in right now that you're seeing magic take place in your frontal eyes. But I'm talking about that you're the magic. Don't get spooked out, but just know that there's designated places on this planet and there's geographical locations that are centers and crown jewels of magic. Let's talk about Cuba for a minute. Let's talk about the, okay.
Leave your contact info.
Yeah.
Yeah. KTLempowerment@gmail.com, mypowerpieces.com, soulgoldbiz, SOLEGOLDBIZ.com. Get yourself some of that liquid gold so you too can experience these colorful, lucid dreams. Take control of your life. Life is what? 95% of the unconscious, of the subconscious. Your dream state. There's nothing more important than those dreams. You got to recharge and re-energize those cells. You know what I'm saying? You are a trillionaire. You're the heir of 1 trillion cells. You know what I'm saying? So let's get it, family. All right?